Bring a Trailer podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bring a Trailer podcast. Alex here, joined once again in the studio at BATHQ by Zach, Howard, and Randy. How are you, gentlemen?
Great. How's it going, everybody?
Zach, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Why
You ready?
Why are you skeptical?
You ready? Because of what we're going to do today.
Stop patronizing me.
Okay. Today we are going to play another one of our one-year garage games. But first, we've been reading some of the feedback on the first two. We've got a lot of social media engagement. We've been joking a little bit. People giving us feedback on how our dreams are mid. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say my colleagues here informed me that I was the clear loser of the 95 game. My arithmetic did not come to that same conclusion, but I'll have to. There was a lot of engagement, 300 odd comments and some funny stuff we were chuckling about here.
Yeah, we love to see other people's lists and hear what they think. Everyone loves Zach, and a lot of people love Randy.
A lot of Zach love, but the top comment says Zach went 5 out of 5 and Randy went 0 out of 5.
Okay, so Randy hates.
So there's some.
And what does your comment say in response to that,
There's
Randy?
there's some hard truth being distributed on social media. I said I demand a recount.
Followed by, who are these people?
Who are these people
right.
even talking?
That's
I
right.
thought that was funny.
There may have been some hanging chads on the vote.
Anyway, there were votes there were at least one vote for everybody, so nobody went totally goose egg. But Zach, how Alex 100% for the SHO Taurus choice.
That was interesting, right? People love the SHO.
You got some love. The Commodore Wagon curveball that Howard threw got some love from the Southern Hemisphere.
There's definite F50 love. You came in strong with that one, Howard.
Google search spiking for Commodore VR.
I'd drink a beer with Zach, says some people. Anyway, there was some good fun.
Yes, it was really fun. It was really enjoyable reading through them.
This year will be interesting. I think it'll level the playing field a little bit because Randy's got some bias for it, for sure. I think you currently own at least one car from this year, right?
Say the year, Zach, and tee us up.
1956. That's what we've landed on.
1956. Old people cars, but now they're kind of coming back as maybe kind of cool. I don't know. Howard has always joked me that my 1956 car is like diving in value, nose diving in value. And we'll see if that holds true, or we can stoke some enthusiasm around 56 cars.
Only because I too am an owner of some mid-50s cars, so it's I'm with you in unity. Alex, are we randomly picking these years, or what's our thought process behind what we've selected so far?
So we can pull back the curtain a little bit. We discussed it. The four of us have been talking about it. I'm trying not to do too many close together years that are challenging or interesting to think about, or years that we think might be challenging and maybe end up not being. I personally was surprised by how many cars from 56 I love. I was a little worried because it's 1 year pre-fuel injection for Chevrolet, and that's a little tough, but actually a ton that I loved. For prep for this one, I went through the website and looked at our results, like to just get a rough idea of what the kind of volume we've been doing over the last 10 years is on most of the years from the 50s. So I wish I had that in front of me, but surprisingly 58, we've sold the most cars from 50. I looked at 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59.
Each of those were, though, I looked at that. You showed me the numbers. They were like between 600 and 1,300 cars
Correct.
from each of the years.
Correct.
But there were some bright spots. For some reason, 1 year would be double what the next year was. And it just kind of is a funny pecking order. But that's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those cars to compare is interesting.
So 56 we have 5 live right now, and we've sold almost 1,000, 960-ish, or listed about 960 cars from this year. So it was right in the middle for the 50s. I thought it would be a little bit of a challenge, was my thinking behind it.
Okay, let's get after it.
All right. I think the order should be Howard, since he was the clear loser last time. And then we'll go round robin, and Zach has to go last this time.
Great. There's some good picks. I think I'm going to go fast. For
yes,
56.
I agree. So quick reminder for those listening, what we're going to do is each pick one car from 1956 for 5 individual categories. So there's 4 of us. That will be 20 picks total. The 5 categories are sports car, truck 4x4, family hauler, wild card, and daily driver. So those are the 5 categories. No double ups. So if somebody grabs the pick, nobody else gets you can steal from the other people. So the order matters a little bit. You guys ready to dive in?
Let's go.
Let's go. Howard, you are up first. You can pick the category and you get first overall pick. Strong position.
It should be a strong position.
It is.
I think we'll kick it off with Family Hauler.
Oh,
Nice.
You know, no one loves a cool wagon more than Randy, and America loved wagons in the mid-50s, and the wagon situation was pretty awesome. So my pick for Family Hauler is going to be a Bel Air Nomad Wag.
Definitely was on Randy's list.
56 it's great. It's a 2-door wagon, so a little trickier to haul the family, right? You got to push the kids like past the leaned over front bench, but that's definitely still worth doing over a 4-door 56 wagon, which would not have been a Nomad, but you can get a 4-door Chev wagon. But no, Nomad's huge. And actually 56 is my favorite. They did it for 5, 6, and 7, and even 8, but those don't really count. So 6 is the best one of those 3. So I have many saved internet searches for 1956 Nomad. I would have chosen that if you didn't. Nice move.
White walls, black with a 2-tone top. I'd go for a number of different configurations, but pretty classic Americana right there.
Best looking wagon of all time?
Ooh.
It's up there for me.
I mean, there's like Zach chose the E34 M5 wagon, which half the people in the audience are saying, why are you talking about my grandpa's wagon when it could be an actual Autobahn wagon? But I think Nomads are cool. But I mean, 50s cars are riding an up and down and up, and lately more of a down focus. So it's hard to say all time. Everybody would say a different thing for that.
I love the way they look. Zach, do you like Nomads?
Nomads are cool. Yeah. I mean, very 50s Americana.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think 57's my year for those. I'd probably go 57, then 56, then 55.
Yeah.
But
I would love a Nomad with a Fuelie, but that's 57.
Doesn't seem like I stole anyone's pick, though, so that's good.
well, that was probably what Randy's second pick. It's obvious choice for your Family Hauler, right?
Ooh, I don't know. Is it? There are so many. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a daily driver, but are you talking the Chrysler?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chrysler for family. It makes my family very happy. I have stashed my entire family in it and run out of gas on the side of the freeway. So I've done a lot of different adventures in that car with the family. So, 1956 Chrysler 300B.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is that the first time anyone's picked a car they actually own?
Maybe. On any of these lists?
I think it might be.
Okay.
Very strong. You ran your family out of gas in that car?
Yeah, not super proud of that, but they don't listen to the podcast, so I can talk about it again. I'm not allowed to talk about that story again in my home, putting my infant children at risk, not only by driving it, but by being parked on the side of a road in a sketchy parking place at night with like trucks driving by. It's not my greatest father moment, but it's an awesome car. My kids love it. It's been in the shop here at BAT for a while. It needs to be sort of resurrected, but I often say it's my favorite American car from the 1950s.
People love that car when you're out on the street in that car. You've driven that a lot. You put 10,000 miles.
It.
I felt like the landlord, dude. I loved that car.
Yeah. No, I put a good number of miles on it. Done some events, done some cruising around.
Great pick. 2 really good picks. I was worried you were going to steal mine, Randy. And you didn't. So here's mine. This car was recently listed. This is a Ford Country Squire wagon with great wood paneling. And this particular one, which I'll say the lot number in a minute, has a supercharger on it. Beautiful car. This car, like you and I talked about this in the office,
yes.
I think.
I'm intrigued by the supercharger. I never looked under the hood. Is it a McCulloch?
It's a McCulloch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a period supercharger on that?
It is period.
Wow.
This one was installed later, but you could have had this in theory in 56.
Anyway, super cool model. Wood is bolted onto those. It's not an actual woody car, but it's like Grand Cherokee sort of wood, but maybe another notch up. But man, they look really good.
The styling is really good.
I think Don Draper's wife in Mad Men cruised one of those at one point. I don't know if you guys were into that show, but they had some very cool cars on that show. And then
I was into that show. Which wife?
I mean, the only one that mattered, Betty Draper.
That's wife number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that's what Don would have said too.
Yeah. But that's also the trailer puller support car for James Dean pulling out a competition motors,
the white one,
and getting to Paso Robles and then needing that trailer.
That's right. That was the conversation you and I were having.
But yeah, they had multiple cars in that. Everybody always talks about the Porsche he was driving, but the thing hauling a trailer behind it in case it broke down was that 56 Ford.
I just think it's beautiful. I hadn't thought about it much till this listing popped up. It's lot 153963, and it's blue and it's gorgeous. And the period, I've always liked those period superchargers. Probably like when they put them on Mustangs too.
Going back to the 300 for a sec, my old man was into Chryslers. As you guys know, we had a few 300s running through the family back when I was a kid. I always thought the push button transmission was the coolest thing with those. I don't know if there were any other American cars that utilized that. Was that a Chrysler-only innovation?
I thought Edsels had it too, right?
Did they? Wow, that's a deep pull right there. I like that. I don't know whether Edsels had it or not, but yeah, Chrysler letter cars had them. And they ran them on the New Yorkers and some other stuff too. Starting in 56, 55, the first Chrysler 300 did not. It had a lever on the dash, but the 56 was the first year of it.
Good job, me. Great pick. All right, Zach, family hauler for you.
Okay. I love that you guys all went American. I mean, it's the 50s. People are thin, small, maybe a little malnourished. So I went with a 56 Fiat Multipla, which I absolutely love. Just looking at these cars brighten my day. And yeah, fun for your whole little family in there.
I bet you could have packed a lot of Italians into. I bet a lot of Italians were packed into those in the mid 50s.
Love it. All of them.
A lot of kids exactly close proximity to their parents' cigarettes in that thing.
Yeah, so good.
The only 56 we've had is lot 2,123, so early. Some of the better colors we've had have come later. I think ideal for me, white roof, light green, but got to shout this one out because it's our only 56.
So I went on my first California Melee, not the Melee, California Melee in 2006, and a dude drove a Multipla on the entire rally.
Whoa.
Which was bold. What do they have? 35 horsepower? I don't know what those things have.
That's tough.
I thought isn't it?
Oh, it's probably less than that because the Beetle's a 1200.
The guy runs like a Fiat specialty shop in Santa Cruz, and I think he had a co-driver, and they like cruise the whole thing in a Multipla. And I was like, wow. It's one thing to drive it in a Fiat 850 or a 600 or a double bubble or something, but he drove the whole thing in a Multipla, kind of to prove a point, I think. And he was a Fiat wrench, so he definitely made it to the finish line. But man, I was like, wow, I thought my little 4-cylinder was slow, but look at that thing. I'm doing better than that thing. So anyway, but cool to see it in motion.
Yeah, rare sight for sure.
They're very cool looking cars. I've always really liked them. That's a great pick, Zach.
Great track support vehicle as well.
Oh, totally. With some period livery on it.
You're getting the vintage car paddock pass with that.
It's got the same power as a pit bike.
Totally.
You can throw those into corners, Zach. That could be a good warm-up for your upcoming Spec Miata weekend. Maybe a little Multipla seat time.
Yeah, nice teaser. We'll see. The audience will know how well it goes based on whether I talk about it on the podcast or not.
That's right. Little sidebar on Spec Miata, Zach, or should we move forward?
56 Miatas on Sonoma Raceway. We'll see how this goes.
It's up to 56, your grid.
Big,
man,
big day out there.
That's this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. By the time this goes live, that will have happened. So we'll have to do a pod on that one to do a debrief. All right, Howard, we're rounding the corner back to the front straight. You get to pick the next category and the next car.
Is what sports car is a category?
Heck yes, it is.
So let's go sports car. As some way now, I've always been a big Alfa guy, Alfa family. Still got a bunch of Giuliettas. So this is kind of the golden era for me for Alfa. So I'd go with a 56 Giulietta Sprint Veloce lightweight Allegrita.
Wow.
I've always loved those. Kind of the one that got away. My dad had a blue one for 20 odd years, sold it in the late 90s. A car that we subsequently, was it the one we listed a couple of years back? Fantasy Junction sold one, really neat car listed by a local buddy of ours. But those are neat. You drive them back to back with a stock steel body Sprint. It's kind of night and day. The lightweight got aluminum doors and hood, plexi windows, rear seat delete, kind of a breathed on motor, the Veloce spec with some special added go fast bits. And those are cars that ran in the Mille Miglia and kind of the ultimate Giulietta of that period.
Is that what Keith Martin, is that the blue one that we listed? The one that
he listed a one level below, which is a Confortavole, which is better than a stock, but not quite Allegrita lightweight levels, but still cool.
This is the one with the maximum amount of aluminum in the body. Is that right?
Correcto.
Amazing.
Yep. As well as aluminum bumpers too.
Fantastic pick. Was that on your list, Randy?
I love those cars.
I do too.
Those cars are really terrific, but I'm going in a different direction.
You love those cars too, Zach. 750. I mean, a pedestrian 750 Sprint would have been fine by me. But the alloy lightweight Veloce is the move.
I hesitate to say it because a backup pick on this list for me has some of my favorite gauges of all time. But those Alphas have some of my all-time favorite gauges. Just so pretty. They're kind of Art Deco.
Yes, they are. I love those cars. I sat in many years ago on, I think it was California Melee on some vintage rally. There was a guy with one. I really wanted one, asked to sit in it. And my buddy took the picture and I sent it to my wife. She's like, is that your Carmen Ghia? I was like, no. I was so excited and proud.
This was my Carmen Ghia, my Allegorita that I drove to high school. No,
totally.
Not exactly.
It was not quite that. Great pick, Howard. I would have expected nothing less. Randy, sports car?
So the 50s are so good because crazy things were going on. Low production sports cars, different coach work. You say we're picking all American, but no, I'm going Italian as well. One of my favorite cars of the era is the Zagato bodied Fiat Autovu. So I'm going off website. I don't think we've listed one of these. I think they go for $3 or $4 million. They're crazy, but they ran in the Mille and they have a little tiny small displacement V8. And look at that. It has double bubble roof from Zagato, and they all have hand painted numbers on the doors. Some specialists around here, as you guys know, work on these cars, and we get to see these cars every once in a while, and they show up at big dollar events like the Cal Mille and Colorado Grand and that sort of stuff. The steering column tends to be a chromed tube, a 1-inch chrome tube that goes straight into the dash, right? And it's just like all
goes straight into your heart when you get in
you crash. It's all so simplistic and elegant and tiny tail lights and everything. 56 things were still really sort of delicate in the way they were put together, and I love those cars.
I mean, 50s Maserati was kind of the top of the world. That might be Maserati's peak as a manufacturer.
Well, yeah, these are So these are not that the Maserati competition and the Ferrari competition are both interesting, but this one I like even better than those two, I think.
That's the model is an 8V. Is that what
Correct.
it is? Yeah. Okay.
Autovu.
Great. Yeah. And it's like a 75-degree V. It's a little tiny V8.
It's a tiny little engine.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's a great pick. I don't think they all got the double bubble, but the best looking ones did. And the Maserati competitor is the A6G Zagato, which if you park those side by side, they actually look pretty similar.
Very similar.
If you weren't too familiar, you might get them confused. But that's a killer pick.
Oh man, it's so good.
Is that what was that white thing that was in Rafi's shop all those years ago?
That's one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's a red one with numbers on the side that runs around NorCal. Yeah. That's another one. And I forget how many there are. I'm not a total expert. I just am kind of stunned whenever I see one.
They're so pretty. They have those like flying buttress seats in them, as I recall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just referring to it as a Fiat doesn't somehow feels.
I know.
Randy picked a Fiat.
Is there a pedestrian Fiat with that same motor in it? There must be, right? That's probably a Zagato body on a more plain.
There's
Fiat.
actually some Autovu cars that I think the body is terribly ugly.
Right.
The Zagato one's the beautiful one, right? But some people like the supersonic car, and some people like the flowy
the
one.
Supersonic's one of my favorite
with
cars
the headlights that are like at an angle, which is really bizarre. It looks like a cartoon car to me. Some people love those, but I don't. I like the Zagato one.
The Autovu went in. There were some surplus ones. Seata bought a few and made some cool cars using that motor. There were some cool race applications with that. So, anyways, we could do a whole pod on that
deep in
drivetrain,
56. Yeah, right. I mean, that a lot of stuff was interesting and being shared around. So, anyway, what are you guys picking?
This is the category that's I have the most for. So this is actually kind of tough for me. There's
I know I'm gonna find out if I escape unscathed for this or not. I thought Randy would actually take my pick. So
yeah, I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going
with my
too.
Basic taste, you guys all know where
I can see it on this screen. You didn't realize there's a camera behind you.
Yeah,
it's the correct choice.
I think I know where you're going to. It's my favorite car of all time, but I'm actually going to do something different because it's what got me the most excited today, which is an AC Aceca.
Hey,
that is what I'm going to choose. I always wish they'd made a Cobra coupe out of the Aceca, but this is the Ace, which is what the Cobra was based on later, but the coupe version of it came with two motors, a little pre-war single overhead cam 6, but I like them better with the Bristol pushrod motor in them. Love those cars. I've always loved them. Think they're gorgeous. And that was probably the most exciting thing I came across for me today when I was looking at cars from 56. So Aceca for me.
Howard has spent some time in one of those.
The Bristol motor is great until you are broken down on the side of the road and need high performance Bristol parts. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm imagining that I'm a moneyed gentleman in 56 and can afford my mechanic's labor rate to
There's
fix
so
that
many good British sports cars in the mid-50s as well.
We should do honorable mentions after you pick yours.
Sports car category is like infinite for 56.
Right, because there's so much one-off stuff. But Zach, you go ahead first.
Well, and this car embodies that era for me of being able to buy a sports car, drive it around with a plate on it, and then drive it right up to the racetrack, race the 24 hours of Le Mans, and then drive it home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Porsche 550 Spyder. Mm-hmm. As basic as you could come from that era. But man, top 5 prettiest cars of all time for mid 4 cam. 56 gets a 5-speed, which is interesting.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
it's a
that.
non-synchro first. It's basically like a pit gear. But
I never knew that.
yeah.
What scraper site said it had a 5-speed? Is that true? No, this is great.
Even
Wikipedia, man. I'm editing the article right now.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
anyway.
hopefully a 56, 550 owner will chime up after hearing this and set me straight.
Awesome. They had a couple for sale in Monterey this year. I stood and looked at the one at the Gooding tent and just sat there and stared at it for a while.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a great car to do that with.
Oh, it's so pretty.
It's one of the most beautiful. And I don't know if they still had them in 56, but in 55, they still had little small displacement Furmans in some of them. There was a 1300 or maybe even a 1200 550. It was still a Furman, but way smaller. So you could run the lowest index of performance at Le Mans, which would be interesting. The reason I know that is Zorar Arkus-Duntov drove one and won his class in Le Mans in a 550 in 55 or 56 with a little tiny Furman in it.
Terrible engine to drive on the street. I think you can drive that only at over 6,000 RPM.
But you could also be a General Motors engineer and go win your class at Le Mans, which is cruise insane.
Yeah,
right?
just take a taxi to the track and just like make it happen.
Right.
That's kind of wild.
Get on Wikipedia forever.
Great
choice,
doing
Zach.
Sports car honorable mention now, or should we wait till after?
We better
the
wait
wild card?
because there's some biggies that are on the table that people might want for wild card. Like there's a wild card is wide open still right now. There's like some of the most significant sports cars of all time are available for 56.
Yeah.
That is not what I thought you were going to pick, by the way.
What do you think I was going to go with?
I thought you were good. Well, let's save it. I don't want to, because there's a couple biggies still out there. We were discussing one the other day. All right, we're coming back.
We were drinking wine above my 550 Spyder model just the other weekend.
I know. Well, I love those. It wasn't even on my list. Well, I'm ashamed to say. All right, Howard, we're coming back around the bend. Where are we going next?
Should we just get truck out of the way? Obligatory
Get
truck.
it out of the way.
Are there even 4 selections that we can make?
There are. Only a couple.
Howard counted Chevrolet, Dodge.
Yeah, you Ford or Chevy?
Everybody made a truck. Just throw it out there.
Yeah. All right, I'm going with a Suburban. I guess it's a Carryall Suburban.
Good.
That's on the list of. That should be on the list.
That's
right?
a good
That's
one.
on the podium for sure. I was looking at a few of those.
They're called a Carryall. Is that right? In 56?
It might be. I mean, it had the Suburban name, but the Suburban name was floating around. Some other people wanted the Suburban name too. So I don't know if they had that fully locked up.
It's like a Chevelle Malibu. It's both. You get them both. You get 2 models in one.
All the badges.
I like the 3100 pickup, so that the Suburban gets that front end, which I like, but I prefer the Suburban configuration. So anyways, we sold a few cool ones, a black one in particular with polished hubcaps and nice little dropped a little bit. So there's some cool specs when people restore them in a slightly modern way.
Great pick. It was on my list for sure. All right, Randy, what about you?
I'm going with a Power Wagon.
No,
56 Dodge Power Wagon.
Really
what
good.
are they called? Anyway, there's some codes to it that I don't pay close enough attention to. They run those in like European vintage racing events. They like run those through the paddock as like they put seats in the back of them and run them as like troop carriers did in World War II. At Le Mans Classic last year, they had Power Wagons like drive, and those are the 40s ones. But the pickup stayed the same all the way through 56. So, and maybe even 58. So anyway, I love those. I've always loved those. I want one repowered. I don't like the
because it's a straight
head.
6, isn't it?
It's a flat head 6. It's a tractor drivetrain that they come with. I'm not a diesel guy. A lot of people put diesels in them, but I'd love to have them just modern Dodge drivetrain, but not mess with the frame. Like leave it all stock except for the drivetrain. Two-tone. The fenders are always black on those, and the body can be dark blue or red or green. Green looks so good.
Green is the one.
And I don't know if you guys are aware of the one that has a pivoting frame in the center. We've featured that, but you can like go over logs and the whole truck will do this, not the suspension. So the frame goes back to like a single tube in the middle, and the whole thing will do this to crawl over rocks. I'll see if I can pull it up.
Like articulated almost.
It's articulated.
Like 2 separate frames connected by a joint of some kind.
That's the vocabulary word. And somehow they keep the drive shaft happening through that whole exercise. I don't know if they run it through the center of the pivot or what they do, but they get power to the rear wheels.
There may be enough flex in the U-joints that you could still do it. You have to limit how much the 2 frames.
It can't go 90 degrees. But anyway, I'm going to pull that up right now because I've featured it on BAT before. But I don't know if I'd go for that feature, but I want to claim Power Wagon as my own.
Smart.
So that's me.
The Power Wagon obviously had a long multi-decade run. We've listed a lot of neat ones, and there's some cool restoration and modernization work that goes on. Kind of our biggest dollar Power Wagon, I just looked it up. Shout out to Desert Power Wagons. Did this crazy Cummins build, and that was a $400,000 truck a couple of years back out of Arizona. Black.
I remember
you know what I'm talking about.
I know those. I mean, people were building and going really crazy on sort of resto mod builds. I think my sweet spot would be about a $70,000 version, but like the $400,000 for the all out crazy ones is pretty wild. I've seen those in person. Those are cool.
You guys actually picked both of my backups, but you didn't get my number one. So I'm glad of that. But those are both great picks. I'm going to go with the first car that was my favorite car, which is a Ford F100.
56 F100, the grill.
So good.
So good.
A handsome truck.
My dad had
Really,
one.
I think it's probably my favorite looking pickup truck of all time. It was when I was 12 or 13, just starting to get interested in cars. I remember seeing a lowered one sitting on the side of somebody's house, and I dreamt about that truck. I drew pictures of that truck. I wanted it so bad. Love these things. It's a little basic, but I just think they're so pretty and kind of an icon. We've listed a lot of really nice ones, obviously.
Wow, I'm shocked Napco 4X4 hasn't made an appearance here.
Is that where you're going?
I have a cheater answer, guys. I'm sorry. Let me apologize for my pick, but it's too good to not take. So a few years ago, the 56 Maserati Racing Team's Transporter came up for sale.
Okay. This is a good direction.
Oh, man.
Come
Yes.
on.
So that has transacted again more recently.
Yeah, it sold in 2012 and 15. I mean, Carroll Shelby owned it for a while. It's got a ton of history, but the details of this thing are just so cool. It literally has a gated manual shifter, which is hilarious to see on this.
Is it a
beast.
MAN? What's the manufacturer of the truck?
It's a Fiat.
Oh, it's
and
a
it
Fiat.
has the retro long script Fiat badge right on the front end. It's got cool Italian gauges. It's properly quirky. If you look at the old listing, there's great period photos of it in Italy with someone on a Vespa and Alphas all around it.
Look at
man,
that.
it's
What's
just
up on top?
It's ditched on the side of the road with like millions of dollars of race cars on it. I love that.
Did it carry Grand Prix cars too, or just sports racers?
There's a Reventlow connection on that one, Zach. I don't know. I'd love to check that listing.
Yeah, I'll send it your way.
But the cars go up on top, like the Scarab car carrier. Which
Sometimes
looks
it's
so
a
good.
3, 2 on top, 1 in the back behind the
Yeah,
cab.
here's
okay.
the shot of it with 3.
Man.
Yeah, there you go. There's
Those are
open wheel
Grand Prix cars. Yeah,
But they bounced around. If it's an Italian one, it usually bounced amongst the Italian teams. The Brits drove British-built trucks for those. Like the D-type truck is a British truck.
I don't know if I've seen one like that with the lattice work in the back for the lower level. That's really, really cool. Man, Zach, that's a very strong pick. Okay, Howard, we're coming to you again. Probably, unless you guys want to go wildcard, we probably save that and we go to daily driver.
Real quick, you guys just got
yeah.
to see this. The Dodge thing I was talking about is called a Willock, Willock, Swivel-Frame from Western Canada. Look at the twist on that thing.
So this was
totally
something you could order from the
You see
factory?
that? No, it's like an aftermarket.
Oh, you would do it.
Weird
Conversion.
deal if you were going to be driving over Canadian geese or something.
Totally.
I don't know what
That
there
was
it is.
flexing out on Instagram of the 50s right there.
There it is. It's totally crazy.
Wow, that's nuts.
The drive shaft
actually.
is struggling in that picture for
I
sure.
just love some of these photos. Anyway, people should look that up.
What was it? Say the name again?
Willock,
Willock.
Willock.
It's like a kit you'd buy from them. You'd modify your power. You probably saw the frame in half.
Customized frames were apparently made by a firm called Willock out of Western Canada. This is my writing in 2011, so we'll get away from that as fast as we can. But it's interesting. A large center bearing that allows twist. Anyway, moving on.
And here I thought that type of stuff was more like 90s and 2000s, but sure enough, it was
50s.
around.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat. All right,
What
daily
category?
driver.
Daily
Alex?
driver.
Daily driver.
This is not too groundbreaking, but I got to go just a really nice 356A coupe, ideally with a kind of GT style mods. Love the wide 5 wheels and kind of that look.
Yes.
And is it also silver?
And yeah, I know this is right
Any
over
color
home
you
plate for
want.
Randy.
Any color you want.
The car that really spoke to me was, you'll recall, lot number 10,000, which was a GS 4-cam Carrera coupe, which we didn't sell, but which was kind of one of the first heavy Porsches we had ever listed. And that car spoke to me. But sorry going first. I had to steal that.
That's a great one. Love
a
it.
very good one.
Just a little 4-cam daily driver, like that's normal. There was probably some period of time where that was normal, like early 60s, maybe late 60s.
Totally.
Until all the engines broke, all the cranks broke and bearings and all the problems they had.
Yeah, totally. I think this was on my list for daily driver or even sports car. And I was thinking of a European model, which I think is the predecessor to the Continental. That was in 56 or is the successor to the Continental, I think.
European,
yeah.
56.
Continental was first and then it got
right.
banned and then they did
Because of Ford and then they went to
Correct.
European,
They
right?
called it European.
Yeah, which was something I didn't know about till relatively
Only
recently.
here. They didn't do that.
Yes, correct. And has the script on the front fender, which I love. But that's just a pushrod car. Boring. Great pick, Howard. Randy, daily driver. So you're going 4-cam on your daily.
No, I don't need the 4-cam for the daily.
Okay.
Just a nice
Pushrod is okay. All right, great.
Coupe. Thank you.
It's the 2-liter GTI of the 356 lineup.
You and Zach could share a Furman mechanic. All right, Randy, daily.
Daily 1956?
1956.
Gullwing.
Oh, wow.
That's what I thought you were going to pick, Zach, for sports car.
I think that's a controversial sports car, and I thought that would go for wild card.
No, that's
daily
just
is
a daily. Daily
Wow.
a Gullwing and park it on the curb. If we're talking 4 cams and big cash and Zagatos and everything, I mean, 56 is just crazy. Like everything is good.
Yes.
So, and that's a remarkable car, and it's absurd to drive it daily, but I bet somebody did.
People definitely
did. Somebody do that?
Of course they did. Uhlenhott daily drove the Uhlenhott coupe.
Yeah, that's a legend. But like for a month or like how long you got to drive it daily? But anyway, I think Gullwings are fabulous, and I want one.
And in 55, 56, there was no better car to be a hotshot in. I mean, if you just imagine, none of us were alive then, obviously, but that thing just looked like a flying saucer going down the road relative to everything else driving around. So
totally
extra kudos to that.
That is probably my favorite car of all time. And the best anecdote I heard about them was, it was later, it was about 1960, but somebody daily driving one in Europe. This was in a car mag years ago. The president of Mercedes North America went back for a month to Germany to do some kind of business. And they gave him, because they couldn't sell them all in, so they gave him a Gullwing as a daily. And he said to be on the Autobahn in 1960 when there was very little traffic and everything was a little slow, Volkswagen or Aceca, and to be able to cruise at 130 miles an hour every day. He's like, you can't, it's an unrepeatable phenomenon and scenario. And I cemented the love for it was so far ahead of its time, so capable in period. Amazing.
And when you're cruising around the parking lot with the Gullwing door open, you're not trying to look cool. You're just trying to cool off. Those things get so oppressively hot. So
daily driver for spring and fall, not for summer.
And leaning out to see the curb in front of you with all that hood.
Okay, my turn. There's a lot of sports cars on the table here, but I don't think I could daily drive an open, just a wide open car. So I have to pick my favorite coupe that I still got here. And so I'm going to go with an Aston DB2 as my daily driver. I love those cars.
That's fitting for you.
It's more practical than a Gullwing.
Yeah, I don't want to blow up the spot. There's a couple roadsters that I would really like, but I'm a pale dude and I can't be out in the open, and I need like a little bit better weather protection for my daily. And I think that would be stately and fun, plenty of power. Pretty cool car for 56.
There's a certain noblesse oblige in the DB2, Alex, which really speaks to you.
Cigs and scotch and, good leather smells. And it would be great. You would feel like a boss, especially in the United States, in a DB24 in 56.
Man, another one that I thought would show up on Randy's list in some capacity.
Might later on. There's still time. Could also change. You saw me, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I was just like, last second changing this out. But
no, this is the right call. I've been agonizing over a few others that I think will probably not end up being a wild card choice. So there's definitely a huge list of honorable mentions that we need to go over here when we're done. But Zach, daily.
Okay, my daily is actually a rider.
His picks are so good. Ooh, okay.
I went with a 56 BMW R60. You could also get an R50 that year, but I want the extra power from the extra 100 cc's. I just think riding a motorcycle around in the 50s had to be such a wild experience of no safety laws. It would just feel so free and lawless. You'd probably
no helmet.
For sure. And all the cars, so much metal hitting you on impact. Like it's not great, but I'm sure you could split lanes in all 50 states and ride right to the bar, ride home with a cigarette in your mouth.
100%.
Yeah, a cool intersection of freedom riding that bike around and the romanticism of the period. I think it would just be a blast to ride around daily.
Legit leather jacket wearing all day long, hair slicked back. It's good stuff.
It is very good.
Wow,
I like that. It's a good looking
Beamer bike. That's a good pick.
Okay, great job, gentlemen. We have very strong lists here.
Well, Randy, TI? I guess the TI didn't come until 57, so that would have been a pick for you.
I thought about it, but man, look at, there's like, are you going to pick the Gullwing or the TI? I mean, it's like there's just too many good choices. I hate to skew high end. I actually thought about, well, I don't know if we're saying it or whatever, but I thought about a Beetle.
I have it on my, I have
like
that
a
green
56 Beetle is beautiful.
That green oval that we had with the fairings over the back and everything.
Okay. I can't do fairings. Can you do fairings? Window slats and fairings and most roof racks I cannot do.
This car? This is like I had it pulled up.
Accessorized.
It's maybe too accessorized, but 1200. This is the 36 horse Beetle I used to work.
Beetle is like an awesome year for Beetle. So anyway,
oval windows, semaphores. I think
you can go cheap, you can go expensive, but 56 has a lot of good cars.
Alex's 56 is Zwider, or that was earlier.
Zwitter.
I think Zwitter's early. I think that's 55 earlier. I think there's still semaphores in 56, but I don't think it's oval window for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Zwitter's earlier. But I could be wrong about that. Somebody's screaming at their smartphone. Okay, let's do wild card. Here we go. How
Is
wild
this the
can we
last
get?
one?
This is it. We've done 4 picks each.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Time flies.
I mean, the best of the best in the mid-late 50s was just the golden era for World Sports Car Championship. Go pull up, starting grid for all the big events, and it's just a who's who and what's what of the best stuff. So my wildcard pick's a little out there. It's the 56 Mille Miglia winner, which is a Ferrari 290 MM.
Ooh. Yes, it is.
They only made 4 of those. Scaglietti designed, big front engine V12, and yeah, just one of the icons.
Is that's the big motor, bigger than the Colombo, right? That's
a big boy.
block. The big block Ferrari motor. That's great.
Big block, 4-speed.
That's fantastic. Penultimate Mille, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Red with kind of the yellow nose. And yeah, I mean, there's only 4 of them. I think one was a converted. The 860 was the predecessor. Again, these are Ferraris that no one remembers, but
they're beautiful.
The big stuff.
Yeah, the big boy stuff. Have you ever seen one in person? Any of the 4?
Can't say that I have.
Interesting. Wonderful. Randy, you ready or do we need to skip you?
Very ready. D-type.
Okay, very ready.
D-type.
That was on my list.
And they won Le Mans that year with the Acura Écosse, number 4 car with the big wing. That's not the one that I want, though we've seen that one in person. I've seen that one in person. I think maybe some of you guys have as well. That no short nose, no wing. Or fin, sorry, no fin. There was one for sale recently, and it was powder blue, and it was that, and it would just look stubby and round and low, and oh man, that's an incredible, incredible car. I would take one of those.
I know Alex is with me, but we're both such C-type fans.
Yes,
you can have the D-type. That's fine.
Thank you. I will.
I immediately went with
short nose D.
C-type was over in 53 or 54, and
I'm going to try to find the one I'm talking about.
Okay, I want to see it
for sale not long ago, but the spec matters on those, but all of them are great.
Yeah,
and I'm not an XKSS guy, but the D-type is incredible.
Shout out to Mike Hawthorne and Peter Collins, right? Those were the D-type bros.
Those were the bros, but they didn't win in 56.
Oh.
They won. I mean, that car won. Wasn't it a dynasty? I mean, it won a couple times.
I was going to say there was probably a bunch of them in that race too.
My apologies. I thought it was my guy Hawthorne behind the wheel.
Hawthorne drove C-types, I think, too. Great pick. Definitely was on my list. I wondered whether that would be acceptable as sports car or daily driver. I think it probably would have been eligible for those. Okay, we were talking about my pick for wild card earlier, and I'm surprised nobody took it anywhere, but I'm going to take the BMW 507, which was still available in 56. I would like mine with Rudge knockoff wheels, and I would like it in white with a hardtop, removable hardtop.
I love getting into spec.
Yeah,
which one you'd actually like which I want this car, and I want these wheels, and I want this color.
Totally. In the Nomad, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. Like which two-tone you get on your Nomad is important.
That's right.
Because there's great colors on those.
I want all that for you, and I like hearing you buck the trend of we're all race car minded of the 50s, and it's just a great car to cruise around in that period.
They're so pretty. It's not quite Gullwing, but it's very pretty.
Sadly, one of the few model pages that does not exist on BAT, despite the fact that we have sold one 507, listed, not sold, as well as some owner's manuals.
Yep. And I believe that one had Rudge wheels on it, I think.
I had a guy that was promising us for a long time, long story, going to list my 507, going to list my 507. Never came around, but maybe we need to go rattle that cage. I didn't know we have never had one.
One.
We have fantasy no-sale one that got
one
close.
No-sale. Never sold one. Okay, well,
that
we need another one. Let's
4 years ago.
It got a very strong bid, though, over $2 million, I think.
Would you take your 507 to Meekum instead of BAT, Alex?
Oh, man.
Somebody did.
Somebody did. Part of why I picked this was because we were walking around that red one, and it's so cool looking up close.
Yeah.
The grill, like the roundel on the little side grill floats out away from the, I mean, like, it's like you get up closer and you're like, oh, this is handmade. Like people built this car by hand. You know what I mean? There's only like 200 something of them, I think.
Did we ever sort out what the brakes were on that car? That one had front disc, rear drum, but then the description said four-wheel disc brakes. Like it was this whole conundrum.
They were a little confused. It was like four-wheel disc brakes, and Randy and I were admiring the big, huge fin drum that you could clearly see through the rear wheels. I love those cars. I think they're beautiful. With a hardtop in particular, they're gorgeous. They look coupe-esque.
That's hashtag big block 4-speed as well.
There you go. Aluminum pushrod V8. Weird. Kind of a weird motor, but cool. We had one of those motors recently on the site with a crack in the block, I think. All right. Last pick of the whole shebang, Zach.
I know. I have kind of a cheater answer again, but I need something to put on my race hauler truck. And 56, interesting year for this. It's the only year Fangio drove for Ferrari. He won the world championship that year. Ferrari won the constructor championship. So I will put a 56 Ferrari D50 on that race hauler, please.
D50 is their Grand Prix car of the year. Is that right?
Still front engine.
Not Ferrari.
They acquired it from Lancia then.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, it started as a Lancia. And
I think Lancia, they withdrew in 55, and then Ferrari basically acquired it from them.
Interesting.
And then campaigned under Ferrari that year and won the constructors.
Really?
Zach's going esoteric.
Wow. Yeah, but the dream is the Lancia D50, right? Or the Lancia Grand Prix car, right? Or this is you call this a Ferrari. It had a Ferrari badge on the front.
Yeah, it is a Ferrari.
Wow. Okay. I'm learning stuff. I love this.
I got to be careful with my words because Ferrari might send me a cease and desist. But
they already have. They're knocking at the door.
Totally. They're here. What's the formula in 1956? Is it 3-liter normally aspirated?
I don't know. And I don't know if you could have different drivetrains in 56 either.
A little bit later, it was you could have supercharger, but you had to have smaller displacement, right, to offset. And I think it was still normally aspirated, maybe 2.5 liter, maybe 3.
I'll admit, I didn't realize that Ferrari rebadged the D50, so that's news
I didn't know that either.
But it does appear to be accurate. Zach coming out of left field with that. I love it.
Fangio car, really good. What do you got, Randy?
I'm just staring at this car.
Oh, come on.
Which is crazy. That's
your
powder
D-type.
blue D-type that I wish I could have been anywhere.
We got to make sure we get that posted. You've got to send that to Chris so we get it posted as part of the podcast post.
I'll do that right now.
Okay, great. This is really, really strong list. This is what I mean. Like 56 is great.
So now we got to go honorable mentions, though.
Yeah, let me read everyone's list first so we can recount. Okay, Howard, who started us off. For family hauler, he has a Chevrolet Nomad. Very good pick. For sports car, he has Giulietta Sprint, alloy-bodied Veloce. Say that you have to say the Italian name for that. I can't.
Some mile apart. Still a steel car, but yes.
What's the Italian name
Sprint
for that?
Veloce lightweight. Allegrita.
Okay, great. For truck, a Suburban Carryall, also from our friends at General Motors. For daily driver, 356A Coupe, does not need a Furman 4Cam. Happy with push rods. And for wild card, the one of 4 Ferrari 290mm, the Mille Miglia car. Very good. Very good list.
Very good. Like, we could just quit there.
I know.
Like, do we need to read all of ours?
Howard's pandering this time. He wants to
get to the list with the gull wing on it.
Yeah.
All right. Randall, family car, Chrysler 300B. I'm glad we got at least one Hemi on here. I was thinking of picking a DeSoto wagon for my family. We needed one Hemi because Hemi was new and fresh and awesome in 56. So we got at least one Hemi on here. For sports car, Zagato bodied Fiat 8V.
I went a little weird and esoteric on that.
No, it's awesome.
Okay, good. We'll keep it.
It's beautiful car. For truck, Power Wag. Very good. Very good choice. For daily driver, a Mercedes Gullwing.
For
Wonderful.
sure.
I think it's so good. My buddy was just telling me about one that showed up at a drag strip in 1950, a Famoso in Bakersfield. And a guy was out there dusting off Tri-5s, right? Like,
love that. Yeah. Let's go do that again.
I know. And God, Randy, you're going to win, man. Wild card is a D-type. Very specific D-type, which we will post in the comments. All right, my list. Family hauler. Ford Country Squire Wag with a McCullough blower on it. Sports car, AC Aceca. Truck, Ford F100. Daily driver, Aston Martin DB2 and wild card, BMW 507 white with rudges and a
pretty
hard
strong
top.
garage.
All of these are really good.
56 is so good.
I know. Wait till we get to honorable mentions. All right, Zach, got another really good list.
It's gonna be tough in the rain for me driving that Multipla around
and the motorcycle.
Well, you're racking up wins on this, so I don't feel too bad for you.
You need to move to San Diego.
For family hauler, Zach has Fiat Multipla. For sports car, a 550 Spyder. For truck, the Maserati Team Hauler, which is a Fiat truck.
Italian. Keep going.
Daily driver, BMW R60. Ooh. Daily rider, I guess I should say. And wild card, the rebranded Lancia Ferrari D50 Grand Prix car.
Wow.
Fangio championship winning car sitting up on top of that Maserati Team Hauler.
Wow. Gasp. Well done.
Any predictions? Who's going to win that? We're kind of all over the place there.
it's a good spread. We all came out with we went hard in the paint on this one for sure.
When you pull up 56 on our site, it's a lot of American stuff, and we really did go.
Nobody said anything about a vet. A 56 vet's actually a good vet.
That was my daily driver that I was thinking of, a 265, 240 horsepower
really
spec with a 3-speed.
The body in 56. You're still single headlight, but it's just a cool, some cool powertrain was available. So
it's a little bit out in the another car that I was thinking of, another honorable mention is a Healey 100M. In particular, the Earl's Court Motor Shore car that we listed, the black with pink on the sides. But that's another car where you're just like exposed to the elements. You're just out there.
56. Was 100S 56 or 55 only? I don't remember. But anyway, I like that car too. The white blue with the white wheels, race spec.
Yes. 100M is the one I was thinking of. And this car in particular, you guys remember this one? This was pretty early days.
Yeah.
Another great 50s car that's plummeting in value. 100Ss, if you didn't want to pay $1 million for them, you can scoop them up now for half that. Or probably less.
Those are very, very cool.
What other honorable mentions do you guys have? What else were you eyeballing?
So do you remember the Alfa van I brought borrowed and brought to Monterey? So they made those in 56. That one that I had, there's some debate of which year it was. It's kind of a few different years, but the Auto Tutto, that's what those are called. And I love early Alfa Romeo vans. And that one was pretty cool. And it was cool seeing it at our event. And we have not listed one in BT auctions. I think we've had a couple features of them in other places, but I'd love to have more of those move through BAT.
Very strong. I think that's a 2-stroke diesel.
That one's a weirdo supercharged diesel like mess of an engine. I'm not actually a huge fan of the powertrain, but if the little bit later one's got a 1300 Alfa motor in them and maybe even a 1600 later. So I would like to have more Alfa vans at BAT events. So hopefully some progress on that front in the next year. We'll see.
Lancia was on top of their game in the 50s for sure. B24S Spyder, B20 GT.
B20 was on my
None of us
list.
said
B20 GT was maybe going to be my daily driver, but Moto and
what version were they at by 56, right? Because they made those cars for 10 years. Scroll up to the title on that car at 56. We just called it GT, but wasn't there like a Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, Series 4, Series 5, Series 6.
It's Series 3.
It's probably 3-ish, right?
It's a 2.5 liter instead of a 2 liter, so it's slightly bigger V6.
Okay, that's good. We've seen those at rallies and seen those at a lot of different places and on BAT.
This one has
I've always liked those.
Yeah, this one has your top mount light on it. Also, this is right before BAT auctions launched. This is Feb 2014, and this is definitely Randy. And I love this. I wanted to highlight the writing in this. You were talking about your writing earlier. This is a non-auction post. It's always frustrating when such an interesting car is sold with such little effort. But based on looks alone, we're betting this one's sorted and ready to drive.
There you go. That was my light duty critique of eBay listings. Where was that car listed?
We're about to launch our own service, everybody. But I just blackened with the that was in the Netherlands. So that's another reason I knew it was Randy.
Okay, there you go. Surfing Netherlands classifieds, the very pastime that I'm known for.
But you're right about that, Zach. That's very strong. Another one that I was thinking of from the year that I think is really great is the T-Bird in 56 is kind of an icon. That could be a daily driver. Is that a sports car? We always have trouble with sports cars. Probably not
a sports car.
Yeah. It wasn't even in 56. That's a pretty sporty car because your neighbor's driving like a Plymouth piece of junk, and then you pull up in a T-Bird. That seems pretty sporty.
And they raced those. They were on the grids in SCCA around the U.S.
Some people raced them, but underneath it's a big Ford car. But I think those are cool.
The Doane Spencer car is a 312Y block. I think the Doane Spencer car is a 56. The one with the Halibrands on it, the black one with the hard top that's all lowered. That's so great looking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I knew Ford did some weird marketing branding behind them, and this is how they marketed it in 55 when they debuted. A personal car of distinction.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, 56 on those, white Continental kit, porthole window, American graffiti car, driving around Fresno in one of those, or Stockton, or wherever that was. I actually think those are cool. I'd actually like to have one of those that the ladies in my family could cruise around in, but that's sort of a weird like movie moment that somebody basically like, what are you doing?
Totally.
But I actually think that car is fantastic.
56 is the first year of the Lotus 11 also.
Wow.
And another really strong pick.
Nice
I debated that also.
Zach.
Yeah.
I had this bare metal one that we listed up ready.
Look at that.
I know.
Those cars are good value relative to what they competed with in the period and what they're selling for.
And the most un-street legal looking street legal car.
Totally.
It has that distinction, I would say.
Yep.
You can also rip around in a cheap replica of those, right? Like a Westfield 11. Like you could. That's a pretty strong like curbside find out in front of parallel
100%.
parking. You're like, oh, you drove in and the door drops down on its.
I always wondered how you get into one,
right? And you're like, are you serious?
Yep.
That would be actually pretty crazy. I wonder if you just get pulled over on shape of that car alone.
Probably.
Who cares? It's legal, I think, as much as a Kit Cobra.
Totally. What do you got, Howard?
I could go a while for honorable mention for 56. I mean, you can
rattle
just do a whole thing
off
for
5 or 6.
I mean, Raris alone. I mean, the early TDF, what they call 250 GT Berlinettas, which are pre-TDF named.
Oh, those are so good.
The kind of the Cadillac to your DB2 would be the 410 Super America, which an early one is gorgeous. And if you want to talk D-types and Mike Hawthorne, Peter Collins, the DB3S Aston is so sick. And
wow, that should have been on somebody's list.
Classic Aston race car. So that's just the tip of the iceberg, but a lot of good stuff.
Last one I'll mention, Continental, not branded as a Lincoln that year. Continental Mark II, very cool cars. We've listed a lot of great ones. Love those. That could have been a good daily.
We just sold a great one into Chicago this last couple months, right?
I saw that one.
Bought that one, and I saw that car in person.
Any other honorable mentions? I think we could keep going on, but
you can go forever. I mean,
know.
Is 56 a year where you can go forever more than other years, or are we just not trying as hard on the other years? Like this one, it's like, oh, am I going to pick a D-type or a Gull Wing? I mean, it's incredible. Whereas, and to your point, you can just go through the Ferrari catalog and everything's wonderful. But that's not true in other years, or maybe it is true in other years. It
Ferrari
seems like
catalog in 77 doesn't come close to 56.
Yeah, I mean, some people are all into that stuff now, though. I'm not, but right? I mean, some people can just go talk about those ones forever.
I mean,
too.
like I had this as a backup, Lincoln Premier, which is gorgeous. I mean, there's like a lot of really good styling. I don't know. I wonder if it being slightly more limited, they're just us having fewer.
Well, 56, you talk about U.S. cars. I mean, tail fins were on their way up, but hadn't reached absurdity. They had been they were introduced a few years before, and then sort of slightly dumpier designs of the 52.3, like they're. Whatever it was, if there were Detroit designers or more optimism or whatever, the cars were kind of bigger and better and shinier and cooler. Jet age sort of, fin type stuff started to happen. But my dad always said, like that there was a sweet spot, 55, 6, 7, right? When the Tri-5s were of like, after that, it got out of control and like drug trip fins, chrome. And before that, it was kind of not as exciting. But that window and 56 right in the middle of it, man, like you go to every manufacturer and they were pretty cool.
Yes.
So I think that's a rare moment in time. And then European sports cars were just sweet in another way for whatever reason.
Other interesting thing about 56 is there's basically 0 Japanese cars from 56.
Totally.
I think there's some really early Datsuns around there, but it's interesting to have a whole BAT category off the page for picking these.
Yeah. Isn't the first Skyline around 1955, 56, something like that?
Those sedans?
It looks like a Tri-5 Chevy. It's a clone, like it's a copy, like a little miniature copy of a Tri-5 Chevy.
Market is Prince Skylines?
Prince, that's right. I think that's right. Yep.
We should look at some of those because they're first Land Cruiser I thought was after that. But there's some interesting
25
things.
somewhere in there, but I think it's later in the 50s.
I think it is. I thought it was 58 if I had to guess. But there's some weird.
I mean, you're only 11 years past the end of the war, right? So they're building little scooters and stuff.
Yeah, at the Land Cruiser Heritage Museum, they have like one of the oldest ones, and it may even be pre FJ25.
57 is the first year of the Prince.
Oh, okay.
Skyline.
Okay, good guess though. Off by 1 year. That's a cool car.
But look, I need glasses, and I can't tell if it's a Tri-5 Chevy.
It looks like a 56 Chevy.
Yeah, totally. That's what they were going for. All right, gentlemen. Well, I think we did it. This was really good, really fun. For those of you listening, we would love to hear what cars we missed or what cars you would like to have from 1956. We're going to do some social media posts. We'll do a post on the site, but we can also be reached at podcast@bringatrailer.com with any feedback that you have for this or other podcasts. And thank you always for listening. We will catch you next time.